very soon become the first ever Asian skipper to finish. So welcome to our live coverage of the finish of Kojiro Shiraishi, the Japanese skipper who in very, very few minutes will become the first ever Asian skipper to finish the Vendée Globe. Kojiro Shiraishi started the race in 2016 and had to retire into Cape Town when the top of the mast broke off. He was a very, very disappointed skipper at that point, and this will be the perfect comeback, the perfect moment for him. He's fought hard to get round the course this time. Remember, he had problems with his mainsail only a few days after the start. And he spent 6-7 days repairing the mainsail, and he sailed with a reef ever since then. But this is going to be an incredible moment for him. Antoine Grenapin.
Such a moment, such an emotion, another part of history of Vendée Globe a few hours after Arnaud Boissière, fourth time here in the line. Now the first Japanese, the first Asian people to finish Vendée Globe. It's a big illustration of how international can be that race. Amazing race, as you say, and such a piece of braveness during all that week. We talk about with his team, and everyone say we didn't thought he will be able to go until the end with all his problem. Kojiro Shiraishi is now on the history of Vendée Globe. Such a story, such a boat, and it will be incredible to hear him and to live with him that arrival. Big dreams that he have on his mind since ages, and it's done. He finished it.
Indeed, DMG MORI One, the new generation IMOCA sister ship to Chiral. And as we said, they had his problems with that mainsail, and so many people just thought he would be unable to finish. The mainsail would prove too fragile. But he has got such a positive attitude, and his biggest asset, he always says, is his smile. And he has pretty much smiled through adversity, has Kojiro Shiraishi. And the big thing for him is honouring the legacy of his mentor, spirit of Yuko Tada, who took his life during the 1991 Around the Lone race. And that was the point where Kojiro Shiraishi really took on his legacy. And here we are seeing him finishing the Vendée Globe, and the Vendée Globe being the race which Yuko Tada really wanted to do. He was invited to do it and couldn't get the funding to do it. And here, completing his fourth circumnavigation and his very first Vendée Globe is Kojiro Shiraishi.
Yeah, and it's a story of a book. It's crazy that little Kojiro who tried to looking for Yuko Tada on the street of Tokyo. He spent few days, few weeks try to talk with him. Yuko Tada has an incredible life, of course, a sailor with doubt, with trouble, and he become a taxi driver. And Kojiro tried to looking for him, and finished to find his door, his little apartment. He knocked on the door. It was 4 a.m. on the morning. And Yuko opened it with 2 bottles of sake. They talked during all the night, and the dream started. He talked about all his experience of sailing, and that experience now Kojiro have it.
That's right. The very first time he went sailing was with Yuko Tada on board his boat at the time, and from then he was offered a job as his preparator, and he worked with him until he took his own life. And ever since then, Kojiro Shiraishi has pledged to honour that legacy and to extend the legacy as much as possible. He's also he loves the idea of expanding the influence, expanding the knowledge of the Vendée Globe in his native Japan, and he's really done a fantastic job there. We have 2 TV crews here from Japan who have made programs all the way through about Kojiro, and many Japanese media here covering his finish. And indeed, you can see the helicopter there giving live images back to Japan.
Yeah, that's long time we don't see an helicopter here on the line of Vendée Globe. Two Japanese channel who are on live right now, plus during the press conference. Kojiro, who say a lot how impressed he was that Vendée Globe is now famous in Japan. Not easy to say in Japan. Charlie Dalin, Yannick Bestaven, Maître Coq, but whatever, they are part of the story, and it's one of the TV series that the Japanese people like the most in the last few weeks. Not only about Kojiro, but also about all that race. And just a little stuff to notice: there is more than 9,800 kilometers between here, Les Sables d'Olonne, and Tokyo. But the magic is everywhere, the magic of Vendée Globe.
That's right. And this boat was, say, a sister ship of Chiral. And when Kojiro finished the last Vendée Globe prematurely into Cape Town, he pledged to come back. Pledged to come back with a better project. And he found this Japanese company with global influence, global supplier of machine tools, and they have really benefited from his race as Shota Kanda, who is Koji's translator and his main advisor, I think, and he's really been at Koji's side all the way around the race. And I think there we see his first team coming on board. So we're just waiting for the times as Kojiro Shiraishi completes his Vendée Globe. The job is done. The dream is complete for him, and his team are coming on board. The next few seconds, we should get his times, but for sure, his race is complete.
Yeah, I just crossed the line. 94 days, 21 hours, 32 minutes, 56 seconds. This is Kojiro 16 of Vendée Globe. With 14 days after the winner, Yannick Bestaven. Yannick, who is here. There is a lot of sailors here. Yannick Bestaven, Jean Le Cam, and Romain Athanasio. And here Kojiro with 10.7 knots during all his tour around the world.
That's right. His program has been managed by Roland Jourdan, and indeed Kojiro trained early on in his program with Yannick Bestaven on Bestaven's boat before this boat was built. This boat was only launched in August 2019. So consequently, Kojiro went into the race light on racing miles. The only big major race that he managed to complete was the Vendée Arctic race, which he was 10th place in. And so he went in with a very conservative mindset, just looking to get round the world, even though this is a brand new generation boat. But he was already talking about knowing that he would do the 2024 race. So this one has been a little bit of a voyage of discovery, a little bit of a learning process for him. But that is complete now as he finishes his Vendée Globe.
Yeah, and as you say, it's important to notice that, of course, Kojiro is a foreigner. Of course, he comes from Japan, but Kojiro, he's also adapted in Brittany. He is part of the story of the big family of the sailor. He can count of his big friend, Bilou Jourdain, who helped him a lot on the last few years. Such a time on the pontoon before the start when. Roland Jourdain arrived dressed with kimono. That was one of the more beautiful picture of that Vendée Globe, and Kojiro, he's part of that big family now of the sailor who finished Vendée Globe.
That's right, and the success at the door of Roland Jourdain's organization, who also had a hand in the winning program initially of Yannick Bestaven. And as Antoine said, I think a lot of skippers will be out today to welcome Kojiro Shiraishi to the dock. He'll come down the channel in the afternoon, around about 2 o'clock, just after Arnaud Boissier. I say this is Kojiro's fourth circumnavigation. He went round, I think, at the age of 26 on a 50-footer. and he did two Velux 502s, finishing second to Bernard Sham. And then he started the last Vendée Globe, as I said, unable to finish, and he was extremely upset. One of the things that he adores about the Vendée Globe and this whole circuit, the whole IMOCA scene, is the number of friends that he makes and enjoys making friends and meeting people from all around the world, and particularly within this community. That was one of the things that he took as the biggest positive that he enjoyed from his Vendée Globe in 2016-17, even though it ended in the abandonment. He took so many positives, that he'd met so many people, and he had so much support, and that has carried forward to today. And here he is across the finish line. And really, I have to admit that I was one of the people when we went through that period in the early part of the race, 6 days, when he was repairing the mainsail, and he was always positive. But when he took off, then you just wondered about how the repairs would hold up in the mainsail in the south. But he sailed a very solid, conservative race, didn't push too hard. And then in the end, he had a good race with this group of 4 or 5 boats all the way since the Southern Ocean, since the Pacific.
Yes, of course. Maybe just a few words about his previous Vendée Globe in 2016. He made a good start, and on the 4th December, close to South Africa, 3 a.m. on the morning, strange sound, and his math will break, and that's here he had to stop the race. I couldn't imagine what's happened. That take me so long time to realize that it's finished. He's also a so good sailor. He's also a guy who never give up, who fight every time, and he proved it again this year on that Vendée Globe. How hard he can be. No one imagines that he can succeed to be in Chilean. Andy, you used to see sailor. How you can explain to people why he succeed to go in Chilean?
I think it's all about his Zen attitude. He's got a very positive attitude. He says he doesn't have any weaknesses. The only weaknesses he talked about before the start were his inability to speak French and English, although I think his comprehension is pretty good, and he survives in French very much. But he always has a Shota Kanda with him by his side as a translator, and we will see that in his press conference this afternoon. And I'm quite sure that huge smile that he wears the whole time, even in the times of adversity, will be with him, and it'll be a time for celebration this afternoon. He said he was looking forward to getting some good Japanese food, and most especially, I think first things first, he was looking to have a few croissants, some fresh croissants. That was his main goal, and a big support, as we said, from Japan or Japanese media and a few friends and supporters here. But it must be an incredible moment when his dream of completing this race has been on with him for over 30 years, and so this really is the biggest moment of his career, of his sailing career, by far.
Yeah, that time he dreamed about it, as you say, since a lot of years. Right after he gave up 4 years ago, he had that wanted to come back with that new boat, thinking about VPLP, and not the same way than Charal. So for the second time, he were here in the Sabdelon. I say the incredible atmosphere with all the Japanese media who come despite the health situation here, and he had the boat and the quality to arrive on the top 10. Of course, race decided in another way, and he had that break at the beginning of the race when he had to fight, when you have to fix everything, and every time you were saying the same stuff. It's a miracle. Every day it's a miracle. I'm so happy to be here. And at the end, because Vendée Globe is not just a tough race, Vendée Globe give him that pleasure to fight with Arnaud Boissière, Alan Rora, and Stéphane Le Ridirizo. And on that little game, he shows that he's not the baddest one. He's good.
He is indeed good. I mean, you forget, or we kind of overlooked in the last race, how many ocean miles he'd done. And although he, believe it or not, he still struggles with seasickness, found this boat in particular extremely uncomfortable to start with, particularly on the Vendée Arctic race. That was the biggest impression he came back with. But say he's sailed this boat fairly conservatively, looking after his mainsail since that damage. But really, his first solo passage was way back in 1991, after the passing of his of Yuko Tada. He had to deliver the Open 50 Koden Okera back to from Australia to Japan. He did that solo, and I think that was his first major solo ocean voyage. And that is when the dream, the idea of continuing the legacy of Yuko Tada really started. And he has a little shrine on board, doesn't he, Antoine? There's a little shrine to Yuko Tada on board his boat, and he said it's the one thing he would never go anywhere without. Some pictures and some memories of Yuko. Tell us a little bit more about Yuko Tada, because he was a very, very influential skipper of his time. He was a painter and a sculptor and a musician.
Yeah, of course, and Yuko were who write by himself the story of sailing in Japan. First Japan to make the tour around the world alone. It was on the Bok Challenge 1982, 1983, 207 days. Imagine 207 days to cross all the ocean. And he was really popular in Japan, and after a few races and that big popularity, he had a few trouble, problem of debt, and that's why he started to be taxi driver. He drank a bit too much also. I mean, it was a hard story for him, but he keep a certain place on the heart of the Japanese people and of Kojiro.
That's right, and I think it's that big heart of Yuko Tada which Kojiro has carried on, and that's what has inspired him, driven him through the hard times, and also sharing the good times, because it wasn't all hardship on this race. And I think especially he enjoyed and profited from this battle with the other skippers pretty much since Cape Horn, or just after Cape Horn. Once he got into that group, he really was racing with Alan Rura, Stéphane de Raison, and Arnaud Boisset, and indeed Pip here was ahead of him at one point, and they exchanged messages. And I'm sure that Kojiro will be on the dock to welcome Pip back in the early hours, or maybe very late this evening. I'm sure at the moment, if anything, I think probably Kojiro's just a little bit bewildered, not quite sure that the race is over, but just welcoming some of his team and his supporters from Japan, and a few skippers, as Antoine said, certainly will be in the channel, and a few will be out on the water just now.
Yeah, and Andy, it's nice to remind that it's a big international edition, that Vendée Globe, with Kojiro, of course, with Boris Herman, with Pip Air, Miranda Meron, Giancarlo Pedote. The Vendée Globe, which is of course race for French sailor, but it's also started to be well known a bit everywhere. We have a thought to Alex Thompson also, and the proof that race can make dream people all over the world. We wait now the first South American guy can come. Ulrich Wilson also, the American sailor. So Vendée Globe continue slowly to be popular all around the world. And just because it's interesting to say, there is lots of player of virtual regatta. Maybe you know that game. Lots of player in United States, in China also. So Vendée Globe slowly started to be so much popular. One stuff which is sure that in Japan it's already done because of him, Kojiro Shiraishi.
That's right, and I think this is a big moment for him, isn't it? Bringing that mainsail down that he's had to nurse round the world. Big. So his damage happened when the wind sensors failed, and his autopilot failed just on the fringes of the storm Theta, tropical storm Theta, in the early days of the race, and he had a couple of big involuntary jibes, and he damaged the leech of the mainsail and 4 battens. And at that point, it was really hard for him, although he was quite fortunate in his position there. He was in a high pressure area, light winds, and he was able to spend, say, 5 or 6 days repairing, just taking his time. And it was interesting then, Antoine, that he was able to just focus on the repairs and completing the repairs and really not thinking too much about the boats which were leaving and disappearing over the horizon many, many miles ahead of him. And he was just, I think that was one of the victories when he managed to get going again. And he was super happy about that.
Yeah, as I said before, he used to say it's a miracle to continue, a miracle to be strong. Of course, for him, for all the team of DMG MORI, it was hard period of time, tough time, with lots of time to fix everything. But he succeeded to continue with that force, with that soul of Yuko Tada, and he succeeded to go until the end. And he scared the team of Arnaud Boissière a bit. Few hours ago, were a bit scared that Kojiro succeeded to overtake him.
Yeah, I think he was getting quite close, but in the end, Arnaud Boissière prevailed. And you can certainly reflect for sure. There's Jacques Carriès, the race director, looking a bit cold there as Jaco on board the control boat. And he will be delighted, as always.
Cette arrivée de Kojiro, comment c'est?
Superbe arrivée de Kojiro, finishing the race.
Beautiful arrival of Kojiro, with the helicopter really close to the sea. It's really impressive, an impressive arrival. Really nice to see Kojiro arrive, even after all the trouble he can have. He takes a lot of time to fix everything. It was a big bet to think that he will be able to arrive. We are so happy for him. First Japan was the line. Yes, of course, the case.
Vendée Globe, c'est quand même une belle histoire maritime. En tout cas,
on félicite. It's a beautiful team adventure. We recognize how much brave you were. He never gave up. It's really a beautiful sailor. And finish, it's amazing. Thank you, Jacques. Jacques Carriès, boss of the race.
That's right, the race director. Of course, above and beyond what we were just saying, he obviously was race director in the last edition and experienced the pain of Kojiro Shiraishi as he had to retire into South Africa.
Salut Benjamin. Alors, t'es là pour accueillir ton pote Kojiro?
Benjamin Dutreux.
C'est incroyable.
Yes, of course, it's amazing. Kojiro, I met him in Japan when I went to see my boat. Now we support each other every time between our team, between us. It's really incredible. He is really famous in Japan. Here it's hard to describe, but it's really an exceptional sailor. And I just want to say arigato Kojiro. I think he's popular everywhere. It's really nice. What do you think about his Vendée Globe? It's incredible. He has to be brave, to be strong. He had lots of problems at the beginning of the race. He succeeded to fix. Me, I make a little fix on G2. I know how hard it can be. See him arrive with that big sailing repair after knowing that the sail was cut into parts. Going to the end, that show how much wanted he have to go to the end. I do that. Benjamin Dutreux.
Sorry, just to clarify, of course, the boat was Kojiro's previously, and four. So Benjamin and his had to repatriate, bring the boat back from Japan and fit a new mast in France and go on to the success this time. But I'm quite sure that, as I said, this has been a very much a learning race with this new generation boat, and hopefully we'll see Kojiro extend his program in the Mocha Globe series, perhaps over the coming years, and for sure, absolutely 100%. Imagine if he's in the next Vendée Globe, we'll see him much higher position. He is an extremely strong competitor, very talented and very experienced. As indeed we saw in the last race, he was really just starting to get his boat moving in the 2016-17 race, moving up through the fleet when his mast broke and his race was ended prematurely. So I'm sure we'll see more of Kojiro Shiraishi, as Shota was telling us yesterday. The sponsors are very happy with the return so far. I think Shota was saying they've had between 3 and 4 times the return on their investment so far before the start. So you can imagine what that is now, as he has now finished the race. But there's still a lot to learn with this boat, a lot of potential still to be tapped. And I'm sure we'll see more of them in the coming years.
Yeah, because what we can say about Kojiro is the same for all the other sailors. They didn't have as much time as they thought to prepare their boat, just to remind, to race cancel, to race across the Atlantic, and of course that miles, that distance, which not help to improve the boat, to be sure about the boat, and that missing of time of preparation were crucial for all the sailor. So we can of course imagine that before 2024, preparation will be different, people will be more ready, and what is the case for all the sailor, it's also the case for Kojiro. So for sure, there is a wanted to make more distance, to go more with the boat, and to improve himself, and he has the talent for it. He is one of the biggest sailor of that sport, and he can enjoy it. Such an amazing race for Kojiro, and as we say, part of his story. Here in Les Sables d'Olonne, now it's the time that he's finished, and what can happen on the head of a sailor who dream from it since ages. Now he is on it, he succeed. One of the biggest mission of his life, go on the top of Vendée Globe, be part of that big family of sailor. DMG MORI will take time around Les Sables d'Olonne and arrive on the channel around 2 p.m. with Arnaud Boissière, 2 boats before 2 other ones. One of the Switzerland's Alan Roura, my friend Stéphane Maison. And after there will be Pip R. Big day in Vendée Globe, and it's a bit like we are in Caribbean and waiting the boat after Transat, but it's not a Transat. They go all around the world. They overcome all the difficulties, and now they can enjoy. And the team of DMG, big team, we see more than 20-30 persons here in Les Sables to welcome Kojiro.
Whose first meal is? So Kojiro is looking forward to his first meal of Japanese fondue, fresh salad, raw vegetables, fresh fruit, and no sake, sparkling water.
And you see how that detail is important for Andy, but it's important for them also. It's that a funny story, as the organization of Vendée Globe was to one restaurant, just to remind for people who follow us abroad that there is no restaurant open here in France. How you can imagine French people without restaurant? So there is a little restaurant called Le Port, which is close to the PC Course, and they prepare the food to all the sailor, and each sailor can ask what they want. So of course there is lots of meat, lots of French fries, lots of beer. Not really for Kojiro, but he will succeed to enjoy in a little room close to where the press conference is. That's the time that's the stuff for everyone to enjoy a good dishes. But the question everyone asks, what could decide, Andy, what you would dream to eat after such a long time on board?
I think I can certainly understand the desire for fresh vegetables and fresh fruit. And for me, I'm sorry, but French fries win every time.
Thank you, Andy. There is not just Kojiro who is adopting by French people and by Vendée Globe. There is Andy also. And it will be a nice and a beautiful day, even if the sky is not as blue as we can expect it, because there is four sailors arrived, because Kojiro arrived, Arno also, and because to celebrate it, there is plenty of other sailors who are here. We saw Jean Le Cam, Benjamin Dutreux. There's also Maxime Sorel, Roma Tanasio, Clarisse Kremer also who will arrive on the afternoon, celebrate a big party of sailing. That's what Vendée Globe. Boris Herman had that word. We're not just friends. We're like brothers and sisters. We're family, and that's what we see, and that's what we have the chance to comment. Such a big amount of person on the board, and Shota, our Shota.
I think I'm just guessing. I think that Shota's just gone on board. But he really has traveled through the ups and downs with Kojiro. I'm guessing not quite able to see who's on board, but he's got his big technical team on board. Boat nicely under control, and for sure, this is the biggest moment of the career of Kojiro Shiraishi so far. And he has this backing of DMG MORI. First time in sailing, first major sailing sponsorship for the company. I think they're in do some golf sponsorship as well, but this was their first venture into sailing, and it really has worked for them beautifully. And they're happy to fund this new boat.
Alors, Kojiro, ce Vendée Globe.
Translate by Shota. Maybe a little technical problem. We'll be back with Kojiro. Maybe a word about DMG Mori. Were funded by Japanese and were based in Germany also. Such a story because Germany is not as big country of sailing as that, but that show how international the project is. Maybe a little story on about Shota and Kojiro. Shota would translate everything with kind of. I mean, he's every time around Kojiro. We remind all of us the first press conference of Kojiro for presentation of Vendée Globe 2016. And he was here a bit shy on the scene, and Shota was here to translate, and it's really nice to talk with them. And it's important to notice that Kojiro had big respect and a big knowledge about the story of sailing, about the story of Vendée Globe. Now he's part of it.
Right. So Shoto was with him all the way through the 2016-17 race, and Shoto speaks perfect English, perfect French, and has built a big knowledge of the Vendée Globe through his interaction with Kojiro Shiraishi, who's been involved for many years through the influence of Shota of Yuko Tada, who was personally invited by Philippe Jonteau in the early days to take part in the race. So hopefully we'll get back and get some words from Kojiro. Just a little bit of a technical hitch just now, but he's got a fairly long history in ocean racing, and indeed he sailed with Lionel Lemonchois in the early days on Gitana, the big multi-hull.
Yes, of course, and with them they succeed to grab few records around the world. First records with Bruno Perron in 1998, and with Lionel Lemonchois in Gitana 13, record of Pacific.
Au-delà de
And maybe a few, well, here
c'est Vendée Globe.
we hear Hervé Borde for the question in French translation made by Shota. Let's cut a bit and maybe just talk about Velux 5 Oceans. He finished second of that edition. It was 2006-2007. The first was Bernard Stam who helped Kojiro a lot when he arrived in France. And just to notice on that edition of the Velux 5 Oceans, they were Mike Golding, they were Sir Robin Dunston, and Alex Thompson, who abandoned after the first stage.
Indeed, you can't overlook the number of ocean miles that Kojiro Shiraishi sailed before this Vendée Globe, and he's 53 now, and keeps himself extremely fit. I spoke to him about his fitness program before the start, and he will no doubt continue with that. And will be a real force to be reckoned with, I think, in the next Vendée Globe.
And there is people who want to be back in Vendée Globe in 4 years. Of course, all the sailors will just finish it. Plus others, there is big wanted from everywhere, and we understand why. How that race is. It's a good way to share emotion, to show what the best you have on yourself. And there is already big rumor about which one can be back in 2024. Lots of wanted, and it will be a nice story to follow it on the next years. And of course, Kojiro will have a lot of experience on sailing. He don't count how much time he spent on water. And he showed that he improved himself every time. We learn every day, every single day in Vendée Globe, in sailing. That's what they used to say to us. And of course, there is a part of true. And if you want to have a bit of behind the scene, you know that Andy is not just a speaker. Andy is also making the website of Vendée Globe. If you want to know everything, you just have to read Andy. You can hear him, you can read him also. That's a full package of Vendée Globe. And we like to see the video of the arrival. It's finished now. No fear, no doubt, no thinking about the state of the boat. And just to remind you about Kojiro. So Kojiro just crossed the line. DMG MORI Global One. He arrived at 11 a.m. 52 minutes after 94 days, 21 hours, 32 minutes, 14 days and 17 hours after Yannick Bestaven. As we say to you, it's a party of sailing here in Les Sables d'Olonne. It's cold, but there is lots of opportunities to be warm because we will leave the emotion of arrival after him. Alan Roura, Stéphane de Diraison will arrive end of the day. Pip Ar, one of the more beautiful lesson of braveness. Pip Ar will arrive on the night. And to be here to welcome them, there is few of the sailor who already arrived. We think about the winner, Yannick Bestaven. Such a rhythm for Yannick after the arrival. Spent a lot of time in Paris to reply to all French media. We see him a lot on TV. Yannick, who is back here in Les Sables d'Olonne to welcome his friend Arnaud Boissière. We saw also Jean Le Cam. Jean Le Cam who have an eye every time on what's happened on the race. And Jean worked here also sometime to help Kojiro. That's the big family of sailor who is here. Talk about Roland Jourdain, of course, who helped Kojiro. We saw Maxime Sorel, Clarisse Kremer will arrive also. And Kojiro who have, as Andy say, a big experience in sailing. Just a few words about his main results. 1998 record of Pacific in Explorer. It was with Bruno Perron. Bruno Perron who invent after and who create a race called The Race in 2000. The big wanted of Bruno Perron was to open sailing not just in French but to all over the world, and Kojiro is a good example of that. And after Open 50 Around Alone was the previous name of Velux 5 Ocean. He finished second in 2002. Such a race. Second in IMOCA Open 40. After 180 days of race. And not for to Derek Hatfield, the Canadian. And if we continue a bit to see the main result of Kojiro, there were the Velux 5 Oceans. We talk about it with Andy, 2006 seconds. And we are close now to finish. Last word for the one you waiting.
That's right. Yeah, great day for Kojiro Shiraishi. We'll see him and Arnaud Boissier coming into the channel round about 2 o'clock French time, 1300 hours UTC. So join us then.